Joyshika and Tammy on the collaborative. Let's go!
The collaborative.
1, 2, 1, 2.
The collaborative.
What's that time?
On Facebook Tuesday at 7. The collaborative.
The collaborative. Who we have?
We have our leaders. We have our teachers and our parents. We have our authors. Story time at the end. Solving problems in our education system. Phenomenal women.
Join them on Facebook.
On Facebook Tuesday at 7. The collaborative.
It's that time. You're Joyshika and Tammy.
The collaborative.
Phenomenal ladies. It's educational. Here on the Facebook. The collaborative.
The collaborative.
Good evening, everyone. Hey, Tammy. Hey, Shika. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to November's edition of The Collaborative. We are so happy to have you guys joining us. So thank you, everybody. Hey, Miss Virginia. We're so glad to have you guys tuning in with us. And we want to just remind everybody that we have changed our format of the collaborative, and now we are coming on live with the collaborative every first Tuesday in each month. And each other Tuesday in the months, we are still providing story time. So please continue to log on and allow your little ones to be a part of our story time on Tuesday evenings. We are so super excited tonight. Have some wonderful folks here with us, and we're very, very excited to talk with them.
Yes, we are. And if you're an educator or a parent, community member, authors, if you would just tell us who you are, share and like the feed. We like to try to spread the word as much as possible. So don't just keep us to yourselves. And we are problem solver educators, but we can't solve them alone. So we come together to bring awareness with our collaborators to form true alliance around real topics each month. So, Tammy, yesterday was National Authors Day, and we are elated to have two very accomplished authors with us today.
Absolutely.
Yes, and what better guest to have with us than to talk with us about our topic of today, which is family literacy. And I don't know if you saw the article that First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, she delivered wrote out her plan to address adult literacy. That was on October the 20th. But I thought that it was profound because she talked about how reading is the foundation of all education. It affects every aspect of society. As we know, it impacts poverty, healthcare, crime, the employment rate. So I think it is really a great focus that gives people hope that, you know, it's never too late to do anything about making sure that you're, you know, not sufficient in a certain area. She also talked about how today about 130 million Americans, about 54% of adults that are aged 16 to 74 lack proficiency in literacy and really are below a sixth grade reading level. So it is something that needs to be addressed. So I was really glad to see that that was her focus.
That's good. I didn't see that article. It sounds interesting.
I thought so. And because this is important, we do want to give you all some tips to come around literacy together as a family. One of the things that we do as educators is make sure that we model things. So, of course, the first teachers that children see are their parents, are their, you know, families. You learn what you need to learn first from home. So make reading a priority, set aside time, and building relationships with books. Family Edition is a program that we've developed around interactive read alouds. And the power of the read aloud really helps children to build their background knowledge. It allows them to develop topics or for you to talk to them about topics in a creative way. Sometimes when we just come home from school and we're asking our children, how was your day? You know, we may not get the full answer of how the day was, but if we are talking about something around a book and we're asking questions and we're introducing new concepts, we may get a little bit more dialogue than we would with just those questions of how was your day. So the this also limits screen time with the television and video games. And I have two daughters, so I know that children love those things, but we do want to limit that and setting aside time for literacy in the home is a way for you to be able to do that. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Tammy?
No, I think it's very helpful that you've given tips that allow parents to support the development of strong comprehension for students because, again, as developing readers, that's something that is going to help them and that's going to help them in every context of school because once you've learned to read and you understand what you're reading, that's the foundation for being able to be successful in all actually other subjects. So I think those are very good strategies for helping children at home.
Definitely. Well, our next guest is someone who could potentially help us add to this list. I'm going to bring her from backstage, and Tammy, if you'll go ahead and introduce her.
Absolutely. I am so excited to be able to introduce Mia. Mia Wengen is joining us this evening, and we just want to talk about Mia for a little bit. But before we discuss how amazing Mia is as an author and as a promoter of literacy, we just want to talk a little bit about something she's going to enlighten us more about, and that is the mission of the Multicultural Children's Book Day, because we feel that is something that is worth emphasizing, is so very important, because that mission is not simply to raise awareness for the kids' books that celebrate diversity, but to get more of these books into classrooms and into libraries, which is something that Shika and I feel very passionate about. And because this is something we're passionate about, it certainly aligns with the work that we do. And that work that we do around literacy allows us to do what we do and be able to support folks like Mia. And we are so super excited to be able to sponsor your event again for the second year, Mia. So we're really excited about that.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, your support means so much to us, and it's educators like you that help us get the word out. And what we're really excited about is right now we are in reviewer sign-up mode, which means we are giving away free diverse children's books and young adult books to anyone who signs up. Parents, librarians, teachers, guardians. All you have to do is sign up, go to our website, multiculturalchildrensbookday.com, sign up to be a reviewer, and a publisher or an author will send you a book or multiple books based on the age that you request. Like, for example, I might say, gosh, I would love to have a picture book, and if it happens to be Asian American theme, that would be awesome, but it doesn't have to be. And then we have a book matching program that matches you with the correct book, and then you get an email, and that donor will say, hey, I want to send you the book. What's your address? You give them the address, and boom, book shows up at home. Book shows up in your mailbox. And then in exchange, we just ask you to do a very short review. You can post it on social media like Facebook or Instagram, or make a video on YouTube, or do threaded tweets on Twitter. You can use TikTok. If you're not on social media, you can just take your little short review, put it on Amazon or Goodreads. And if you're like, oh, I don't have time for any of that, but I'm a teacher, hey, just read the book out loud in class. That's enough. Because as an author or a publisher who's donating the book for free, they just want to get into the hands of people who need these books, diverse books. And if you give them opinions of what you think, that's like a bonus. And so right now we're in sign up mode, and you can sign up and indicate how many books you want, what type of book, and that will end by the end of the year. So we're hoping, please sign up. And if you're an educator, we're asking, please tell the parents of your students, because that, like, you might get it in time for the holidays even. So that could be a holiday gift. But you certainly will have, a book or multiple books, either in the classroom or in your home library. And I think it's just a nice way to build like a diverse book library, no matter what. And free.
That's very important. And guys, let us give you just some background on who we are talking with, because Mia is such an incredible resource. So just some information that we want to share. on who Mia is. Mia actually blogs on parenting, children's books, and education at pragmaticmom.com and is the co-creator of Multicultural Children's Book Day, a nonprofit celebrating diversity in children's books. Her debut picture book, Sumo Joe, is illustrated by Nat Awata and published by Lee and Low. It made the Bank Street College of Education list for best children's books of the year. Scholastic is the publisher for her middle grade anthology, Asian Pacific American Heroes. She is the co-author of 2 books with Allison Foley, How to Coach Girls, a primer on how to keep girls in sports for coaches, and the elusive Full Ride Scholarship, an insider's guide. How to Coach Girls won a silver award in the 31st annual IBPA Benjamin Franklin Awards. Her Kickstarter middle grade anthology is Changing the Game, Asian Pacific American Female Athletes. To find the best diverse books, she wrote Best #Own Voices Children's Books, my favorite diversity books for kids ages 1 to 12, published by Audrey Press. She is also the co-founder of Aquint, the world's largest company staffing creative, digital, and marketing talent with 37 offices around the world. Mia, welcome to the Collaborative. We're so happy to have you.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you so much.
And Mia, I actually ordered Changing the Game, Asian Pacific American Female Athletes when I was the principal last year at my middle school. We participated in a cultural exchange program that brought 2 phenomenal female Filipino teachers to us. And one of them brought 2 of her daughters with us to the school. So as a principal, I wanted to be intentional about making sure every student in the building was able to see themselves represented in books. So I did order that book and several others just to make sure that every student was able to see themselves. So I'm glad that that was available. And I came to know about that from us participating in Multicultural Diversity Book Day. So I think that the work you're doing is really impactful, but tell us a little bit more about that book.
Oh, first of all, thank you so much for buying a copy. Yeah, it's something that I literally did on my own. Like every book sale, you just feel like, oh my God, thank you. Like virtual hug, you know? The book came about because I have 3 kids. So 2 daughters and a son. And my middle daughter was in high school at the time. And she was always really athletic, you know, kind of played every sport, like, you know, as soon as she could walk practically. And when she was in high school, she said, yeah, there really aren't any Asian American female athletes, Mom. And I was like, what? I was like, Chloe Kim, you love Chloe Kim. She's like, oh yeah, there's Chloe Kim, but like, that's it. And I was like, what? That's not true. And it just shocked me because here's a kid who played soccer and she did Nordic ski and she was, you know, she was a coxswain. You know, she tried every sport on the planet, you know, except for basketball because, you know, she's really short. And I just felt like, you know, if you don't have any role models, you know, how can you think that like sports are for me?
Right.
And it's especially shocking because, you know, a lot of these athletes in the book, you know, they literally were trailblazers who, you know, collectively won, you know, gold medal after gold medal at the Olympics. And so like, and they all had sort of incredible stories that, you know, like for example, Kristi Yamaguchi. People might know her. She was a very famous ice skater, but people might not know that the reason why she started ice skating was because she was born with club feet. You know, like when your feet point inward and you have trouble walking because your ankles are really weak. And so ice skating was a form of therapy for her as soon as she could kind of walk. And then she fell in love with the sport. And then voila, gold medal later, you know. and also she has a literacy program. You know?
Wow.
So it's like full circle, but it's
Right.
almost everyone in this book has some kind of incredible story. And, I think that's true for many, many athletes, but, um, like the diver who's Filipino,
Mhm.
for example, she learned how to dive in a time where the pools were not available if you were a person of color, and she was
Mhm.
half white, so she had to change her name
Mm.
to a more Caucasian sounding name. Otherwise, she was only allowed to dive the day before they cleaned the pool.
Wow.
And even with the name change, her coach had to create a diving club just for her
Mm.
because otherwise she wouldn't have access to a pool. Um, and she grew up, wanting to dance, but her family didn't have money for dance lessons, so she channeled it all into diving. And she was the first, like the first of many, Asian American to get a gold medal, to win these medals in platform diving, and Filipino. She was just, but every single one, even the surfer that I have, Anoa, she, many people might not know her, native Hawaiian surfer, but her story was that, she just, she grew up hanging out with her brothers, stand up, kayaking and surfing, and just was an incredible athlete. But she had a diving accident. Like, sometimes when you dive and it's too shallow,
Mhm.
and she broke her back, and they said, "You're going to be paralyzed and you will never walk again." And
Wow.
1 year later, she won an international surfing competition because she was just like, No, I'm gonna like rehab myself. And also she's a PhD academic, teacher who focuses on literacy using kind of Hawaiian principles of like,
Mhm.
um, it's like I can't remember the word exactly because it's literally Native Hawaiian, but it's sort of like about like kind of working together, and
Mhm.
you know, and so I thought it was just not just for their athletic accomplishments, but
Right.
just for breaking barriers and then using the platform to then go on and do things in other areas. That just
Mhm.
they were just great role models for, you know, a high school child, you know.
And kudos to you for not just allowing that to be what your daughter understood to be, the history or her culture. Kudos to you for doing something about it to where now not only does she know, but several other children and people are able to know those amazing stories, because like Kimberly is saying, seeing your likeness in books is really important. And
Yeah, and so when I grew up I'm 56, and I
mhm,
grew up in Southern California, Seal Beach, which is like near Long Beach. And
mhm,
my school library was very well stocked. And when I was like in 5th and 6th grade in elementary school, I read every single book in the library, like every single middle grade, every single biography. Took me
mhm.
2 years. I got in trouble for taking 30 books out at a time because there was a limit. And I never, not once, ever saw a character like myself in the
Wow.
book. And I didn't realize at the time how it did make me feel marginalized. It made me
Mhm,
feel like, "Oh, I don't know if anyone would date me because I'm not white," you know?
mm,
I kinda grew up in a beach town where there were some Asians, but it was
mhm,
predominantly white, and there was some diversity. We had a little bit of everything,
mhm.
but, not seeing myself on the small screen or the big screen, but especially in books, 'cause that was my escape.
Wow.
Um, and then when I had children, my oldest is about to turn 22, I thought, "Oh, this is great, like, there's all these books now with Asians in it." I thought we're doing pretty well, but then I saw a study about 9 years ago, like,
Mhm.
shortly after I started blogging, that said the number of diverse books hasn't increased in 14 years,
Oh.
and I was like, "What?" Like, that's crazy. It was like 5%, 6% at the time. I was like,
Mm,
the
right.
population for, like I go to California for a birthday party for a little kid, and I was like, every single child there is mixed race. There's not a single you know, like white child. They're all like, half Mexican, half Asian.
Mhm,
I was like, that's when I decided I'm gonna dedicate my blog to diverse books, and that's
mhm,
what led to the Multicultural Children's Book Day because Valerie Boudere, who was another blogger, said, hey, we should, I saw that you said you're going to focus on diverse books. Let's do something about it.
Right.
Mhm.
And then so we met, and she was like, let's just do a holiday. And I was like, you can do that? And she was like, oh yeah, you just pick a day. I was like,
You did.
no idea. That's
And
literally what we do. We're like, okay, fall's too busy, holidays are busy. Okay, we have, it's spring, so we need some lead time. We're like, end of January, why not?
Right.
Well, the
And
work
we
is
loved
very
it.
important. We did. We really
Yeah.
enjoyed being a part of the experience.
We did. And we even won a set of books. So that's
Oh, fantastic. Yes, we do a Twitter party.
Mhm.
We give away a stack of books. This year will be 9 to celebrate our 9th year. So every 5 minutes, we'll give away a stack of 9 books plus bonus packs, like, what, I don't know, they call them, like, just like a grand bonanza prize. Yeah, because it's just our way of, like, let's get the books into the hands of people who need them. It doesn't matter, if they have the means to buy the book or don't have the means. Like, anyone who signs up can get books, and that's why our book matching, I feel like, is we invested money this year to do a book matching program, so that before we had someone manually doing it off a spreadsheet, and now it's like we can do it automatically, so we can have millions of reviewers if we can get millions of people to review, because we literally get more people who want to give books than we have reviewers. And that's always been the case. It's like a weird problem to have, but so we please, educators, please tell other teachers, tell your librarians, and especially please tell the parents of students, because it can be a super short review. It can be like one sentence. It can be your child saying, I like this book, type that up, put it on Amazon, done, it's just like, let's just get those books into the hands of kids. It's like such a good way to teach kids empathy if they see kids that are not like themselves, but it's especially so important for kids to see themselves or people that they know,
Absolutely.
So that's, I don't know,
It's super exciting. And this year, I'm actually, now that we know how it works, I'm going to invite my staff to be readers and reviewers.
Thank
so
you.
we can hopefully get you some more educators in there where you'll have even more access to more children.
Thank you. Literally just go to the website, multiculturalchildrensbookday.com. It's on the homepage. You just say, click reviewer, and then fill out a short doot. And then, it's pretty easy.
And I wanted to show that graphic that you referenced, because I think seeing it really brings it to light when you actually see what the numbers are. The school library journal publishes, let me see if I can pull it up here.
And it literally, with like all this effort, with everyone, like multiple movements, high awareness, it moved up by 1 percentage point. That's it.
So
it's really astounding when you think about it.
It is. And then so and we know as educators, connecting to a text is a part of making sure that children are developing the correct literacy strategy. So if 50% of the characters depicted are white, 27% are animals, 10% are African Americans, 7% are Asian Pacific Islanders, 5% are Latin Americans, and then only 1% are American Indians. That is not, great representation for children of color to be able to see themselves. And especially when you see that.
Did Sheikah freeze me, or can you hear me?
She froze.
Yeah. So where her point is that if animals are represented more than children of color, that can send a very negative message to the children who are reading those books. And Mia, while Sheikah is probably going to have to log back off and come back on, why don't you share with us just a little bit about the multicultural book club for children that you host.
Sure.
We're really excited to hear about that.
Sure. Well, I just want to make one more point about that, the graphic, the stat, and that is, it also affects literacy. So if you're a person of color, especially like, an African American child or African American boy for a good example, and you don't see yourself reflected, especially like in early chapter books, like when you're first learning how to read independently, then you have a lot less interest in learning how to read, and that affects literacy. And so our Dr. Valerie William Sanchez, who will be our executive director, she did her PhD on that, and she found that it definitely affects literacy, because when kids see themselves reflected in a way that they can relate to, it makes them more interested, and then they're more willing to want to read. So I also host a multicultural children's book club. It's through a different platform. It's through Walking in Other People's Shoes, which is like women of color supporting each other. And every Thursday, the first Thursday of the month, which is like you guys, except on Thursday, and also at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we host a free and virtual multicultural children's picture book club. And during that hour, I give away a book club in a box. So it's the book and it's themed snacks. And if we have an art project, we'll give away the materials for that. But we've been varying the creative piece. Last month we did Boo Stew, and then we had a cooking demonstration.
Oh, wow.
And so this month I'm actually not going to make it because I'm going to visit my daughter in college for Parents Weekend, but I have Leanna of All Done Monkey filling in for me.
Okay.
Tracy Sorrell, we are going to be doing We Are Still Here.
Yes.
Which is to celebrate Native American Heritage Month. So we have sort of 20 minutes of like a book talk, and then we have 20 minutes of a creative activity. And in this case, it's an educator, and she's going to be talking about different writing exercises using this book. And then we have 20 minutes of the surprise guest, usually the author, just to, talk about the book and answer questions and meet everybody. And so I hope we also record it. And so that's available on the Walking in Other People's Shoes platform and also on YouTube. So I hope that we can get, more people to come join us or just to watch the video.
Absolutely.
We've had some incredible, Carol Boston Weatherford came for Juneteenth, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's just a great way to meet different authors.
We're really excited about it, and we'll put that link in the comments so that people can see how they can register to join.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate that. And Mia, it's been amazing talking with you. We're always so excited to hear about the diversity and see other people who are interested in making sure that children have access to those types of books. Because as I think it was Kimberly who might have said, it is so much that can be perceived through the graphic that we were talking about before. And it's rather than people just continue to talk about it and just talk about it and talk about how we're underrepresented in these texts and representation has to happen. We have people who are trying to do something about that and make that something that is going to look differently when those studies continue to happen. So again, thank you. We are so glad that you were joining us. We're actually going to let you go backstage for a little bit so that we can bring out our next guest. So glad that Sheikah's back on. Crazy computer issue.
Yes, if you work in our district, there's this thing called the blue screen. So I got the blue screen, but thankfully you all were still here when I got back. But thank you, Mia. We will be back with you in just a second if you want to hang out with us.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, we are so elated as Sheikah brings up our next guest to our stage, Rudy Ruiz. And that is not how that's supposed to be said, because we are not as gifted as Rudy to be able to roll those R's the way that he can. But we are so glad to have him with us as well. And we're so happy because another award-winning author has joined us tonight. And Rudy is actually the author of the recent magical realism novel, The Resurrection of Fulgencio Ramirez. So we're really, really ecstatic to have you joining us this evening. Welcome to our collaborative, Rudy.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for having me join you.
Yes, we are going to do your bio so that we can kind of get into this conversation. We are so super stoked to even be able to have you here to share with our audience, because we really want to get into the work that you do, because we are hoping that some of our followers, the principals who watch with us, will see what you're offering and maybe even reach out to you so that they can take advantage of and have access to this great resource that you have for them. So let's talk about Rudy Ruiz. Has won 6 International Latino Book Awards for his novel, The Resurrection of Fulgencio Ramirez, and for his short story collection, 7 for the Revolution. His short fiction has appeared in numerous literary journals, including Notre Dame Review, The Ninth Letter, and New Texas. In 2017, he received the Gulf Coast Prize in Fiction. Rudy is a bilingual native of the U.S.-Mexico border. He earned his bachelor's and master's degrees at Harvard University. You can learn more at rudyruiz.com and follow him on Twitter at Rudy_Ruiz_7. Again, thank you for joining us, Rudy.
Thank you. What you guys are doing is amazing. So thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, thank you. And the awards that you've won and everything that you've accomplished is so impressive. So I just commend you for the work that you've done. And if you would tell us what it was like growing up on the U.S.-Mexican border, and then why this region of Texas plays such an essential role in your writing.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's funny, but what Mia was talking about earlier really resonated with me, and I think it's a lot of the reason why I've stuck with my lifelong dream of being a writer. I grew up loving books. My mom really got me into reading at an early age, and she was a big lover of books as well. And but similar to what Mia described earlier, I grew up reading a lot, and I loved reading, and only when I got to college and I started reading some of the literature from Latin America and Latino authors did I finally, for the first time, see myself and my culture, my heritage reflected in what I was reading. And it sort of took something I loved to like this whole other level. It was like, whoa, I feel like I could do this. I was not just reading because it was on the curriculum and to try to get a good grade. I was reading because I loved it, and suddenly it didn't feel like work. Doing the reading list and doing the papers and all that for the classes, it didn't feel like work. I mean, it felt like just fun. Mm-hmm. And I thought also, I discovered magical realism, which has been a very popular style of subgenre of literary fiction in Latin America and within Latinx culture. And I thought, wow, I could really see myself writing in this style. It spoke to me. I felt like I could take a lot of the stories I had heard from my own family, my dad, my grandmother, about their lives, growing up during real tough times on the border. And I could share those stories and kind of build on them. in a fictitious way as well, to kind of really stoke the imagination and take it to a whole other level for the reader.
Mhm.
But for me, that's why I feel like to answer your question about the border, it just really has always been a source of inspiration for me, and I feel like capturing that, sharing those stories, expressing aspects of the culture, and trying to bring those life experiences to readers who either connect with it because they see themselves in it,
Mhm.
or learn something new because they suddenly visit a place, walk in the shoes of people who they might not otherwise have really learned a lot about, and suddenly they have a new perspective. And so that's what I love about writing, and about drawing the inspiration from where I grew up.
And that perspective is so crucially important because, as you said, that is sometimes the only connection through that character that children have to that culture or to that neighborhood or to that individual. So it's really important because she could talked about connecting with text before and how important that really is. That perspective also though helps us with respect and learning how to appreciate diversity. So we are admirers of your work.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Well, what you said is it's absolutely right. And I couldn't believe the statistics that were being shared earlier. And, I mean, I think more than half of school age children nowadays in the United States are people of color. And
Mhm.
so to see that such low percentages of, our communities are being represented in a lot of our literature, whether it's children's literature or more for young adult or adults, it doesn't make sense. So hopefully over time and with this kind of advocacy that's being done, that can change, because I feel like these stories are sort of inspirational to our children and to the youth. And like you guys said, it feeds a lot of things: self-confidence, their desire to read, their
Mhm.
desire to and their faith that they can accomplish some of these things. And part of it is also creating a positive narrative, because often a lot of times one of the things that drives my writing about the border is when you look at the news nationally and you hear about the border of the U.S. and Mexico, it tends to always be negative coverage, and
Mhm.
and
It's true.
there are a lot of challenges and obstacles. And through my work, I like to kind of create narratives that try to figure out how could you overcome those obstacles, how can you give people hope,
Mhm.
because I think that's really essential.
And hope right now is super important. One of the other things, and this is something that Shika and I try also to promote through this collaboration platform that we have, the collaborative, uh, is that appreciation for the differences that people have and the experiences that make us unique to our realities. Because again, someone may only connect with that particular theme or that particular aspect of life through what you've written about it. So it is very important.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that for any person of color, part of the journey is figuring out how to make the American dream your own,
Mhm.
and how to make it something that's not just belongs to somebody else and is totally out of your reach. And so that's another aspect of the kind of stories I like to write, including the resurrection of Fulgencio Ramirez, the novel you guys mentioned. It centers around a protagonist that is the son of immigrants living on the border, living in poverty, and he has this journey of trying to figure out how is he going to fit in America, how's he going to achieve his dreams, and he does become the first in his family to go to college and get a degree, and accomplishes a lot of things along the way, but he still struggles to find happiness and to find sort of peace with who he is, and his sort of fractured upbringing on the border. So, but ultimately, it's a story of hope, and I think that's sort of what I would hope that any young reader or anybody really, you don't have to be a young reader to need hope in your life,
Definitely. And I think the storyline sounds amazing, Rudy. And tell us about some of the songs that you've incorporated to bring forth a lot of that rich culture in the book as well.
Yeah, that the character of Fulgencio Ramirez is an amazing singer, and he's growing up in the 50s on the border. And so you right away from one of the things, second chapter, you get a feeling of this sort of blending of cultures where you're living in a place that's probably like 80-90% or more Mexican American. The town on the border that I create is a mythical place called La Frontera, which means the border, literally. But it's inspired by my hometown where I was born and raised, which is Brownsville, Texas, right on the Rio Grande. And so it's a very bilingual place. And right away you get this feel of the music, from listening to Elvis Presley and all that kind of 50s music. And alongside all this classic Mexican music of the 50s, which was considered the golden age of their music and cinema in Mexico. So Fulgencio has this beautiful voice, and he grows up singing all these traditional Mexican love songs. And he falls in love with a young American, woman, and he sings a lot of those songs to her. And all the lyrics are in the book, and they kind of chart his course. It could almost be turned into a musical because they chart his course from their love story, from falling in love to heartbreak, to eventually seeking to have a second chance and kind of redeem their relationship. But what I loved about it is just that growing up on the border, my own father used to sing a lot of these songs, and he had a great voice. And so the music, just like the food, just like a lot of the customs and holidays, they're just a big part of the culture, and they don't get left behind. They're still part of the Mexican American culture today, even for those of us who've been living here in the United States for multiple generations.
Sounds awesome. Makes me feel like we might want to dance when we.
Definitely. I mean, it's got that. To me, part of it is I would listen to the music, as well when I was working on the book, and I created a Spotify playlist because I thought it'd be really cool if people had a chance to sort of play the song, listen to him, listen to it being sung as they read the lyrics, and kind of understand the meaning of the music and how it integrates into the story. But it really kind of immerses you in the culture, not just the words, but the sounds.
Right. So excited. It sounds amazing. And we know that you are working on a new book, Valley of Shadows. Tell us about that.
Yes, that's right. That's another magical realism novel. And it is also set along the border, but it was kind of inspired. My son, who's actually in high school, he asked me one day, "Hey, Dad, could you write a Western horror story?" And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. That sounds really, really interesting. And I thought, how can I put my own spin on that? And I thought, well, I'll make it on the border, and I have to make the hero like this Mexican American lawman, and he's basically a retired lawman because he used to be sort of like the sheriff in his town on the Mexican side of the river. But then the river changed course, as it actually did do in history several times, and the river shifted its course, and his town ended up stranded on the American side of the border. So he had to kind of go into retirement because there weren't a lot of Mexican lawmen in Texas in the late 1800s. It was actually pretty tough times, So I thought, well, wouldn't it, because I write in this magical realism style where anything's possible, I thought, well, what if something really bad happened, so bad that the Anglo townspeople came to him because they thought he was the only guy who could kind of help them solve the problem. And so he kind of comes out of retirement and then kind of goes through this mystery of trying to solve these terrible things that are going on. But what I love about it is that in my work, I love to address difficult issues, social issues, and try, again, like going back to that theme of empathy, trying to kind of tackle how can we get people to have just new perspectives on social justice issues. And it seemed like a great opportunity to tackle some of those, while at the same time, creating an entertaining story that people can get into and enjoy, and they don't feel like I'm like preaching politics to them. Rather, hopefully they just sort of walk away with some new ideas when they finish reading it.
Well, it grabbed me when you said the first book, it could be a musical, because I love musicals. But
and I think that's great, because I know you guys focus a lot on young readers, and I think the book's definitely appropriate for students in high school and college. And I just think when you bring in the music, it kind of opens up a whole other level of interest for them, and it's a way to engage that is very universal. And maybe it's easier to get a person to listen to back then songs were pretty short, so they're like 2-3 minute songs, but if you engage that way and then get somebody to keep reading a book, it's pretty cool opportunity, I thought.
Definitely.
Yes, and as educators, we use novels a lot to teach certain literary strategies. So the fact that you're saying it could definitely be used at the high school level is great information for all of our leaders. I see Josh from Texas tuning in. He's the principal in the Texas area. So educators, if you all want these books for your teachers, for your classroom libraries, for your school libraries, tell us, Rudy, where they could purchase your books.
Well, they're definitely available on all the usual platforms, from Amazon to local bookstores to bookshop.org, Barnes and Noble, and they're also on our publishers, Blackstone Publishing, so blackstoneaudio.com as well. So, and I think they're available through Ingram, which I know is one of the distributors that a lot of schools purchase books through as well.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. And also, are you available for virtual authors visits? Because a lot of times, it's great to allow the students to hear from the author's perspective. So is that something that you also offer?
Yeah, I love to meet with readers and students and teachers. I've done it, in the past, and I'm bilingual too, so it's kind of a fun extra part. I always like to read some bilingual snippets and share some of that with audiences if it makes sense. But I think that it's always exciting just to connect with the students, to try to remind them, hey, I like to remind them, like I was kind of just like you at one point. I was a student going to school on the border in Brownsville, Texas. And kind of what gave me even the idea that I could go and, get an education outside of where I grew up and do these things that probably nobody in my family had kind of even imagined trying to do, really came from reading books. It really came from those quiet, like long hours in the library. I remember like just kind of sitting in a corner, like on the floor, like looking through the books, and being swept away to another world. And like, I love to share that with kids, with students, because I feel like books give them that. They're like a ticket, they're like a ticket to wherever they want to go in life.
They are. They really are.
They are. Well, thank you so much, Rudy, for joining us. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. And Rudy's information will also be in the Create and Educate catalog that we send to schools to make sure that educators are aware of the things that we normally order out of the same catalogs. In education, we're creatures of habit. So the Create and Educate catalog was something that we developed to start educators to think outside of the box and make sure that we're really providing the representation for students that is needed. And thank you so much for joining us. So if you want to hang out with us, we're going to put you backstage. Rudy, did you have any closing remarks?
I just want to thank you both so much once again for having me and for what you're doing. Hopefully those statistics and those numbers that were shared earlier will change, and in no small part due to efforts like yours. So thank you.
We're on the way, and we have some books like yours that will hopefully help to change it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you, Rudy. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. We are so grateful to have had you guys with us. We appreciate you all. And remember that we are coming on live for the collaborative on the first Tuesday night of each month, but each of the other Tuesdays, we will still have a story time, although we won't be on live. So again, thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Yes, most definitely. And if you visit our website, www.createandeducate.solutions, you can follow us on all platforms, so you're able to get notified when we go live and when we publish our new catalogs that are updated monthly. You will be able to get that information as well. And if you have not pre-ordered your copy of It Doesn't Have to Be Lonely at the top, this book is a book written by Tammy and I that outlines our leadership journey. The whole premise behind the collaborative is that we don't want leaders and educators to feel like you're in a seat alone, like you're leading a school by yourself. So that book really outlines our story, but also talks to you about how to develop those relationships. We are on Saturdays, each Saturday at 10:30 a.m., a part of our professional learning network. And Josh, who was on, is also a part of that network, along with Principal Kafele and Principal Sean Hurt. So we are honored to be in that network. If you're an educator and are seeking a network of information, there's a lot of great information that we distribute on Saturday mornings at 10:30. So we hope to see you then. If you are interested in our Building Relationships with Books program, that is our SEL book program that we have for schools. So we can provide you with information about that as well. So thank you again for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we will see you next Tuesday for our Storytime featured author.
Unless you join us on Saturday, we will see you guys on Saturday. So thank you. Thank you, Josh. You guys have a great night.
Thank you.
Join Sheikah and Tammy on the collaborative. Let's go!
The collaborative.
1, 2, 1, 2.
The collaborative.
What's that time?
On Facebook Tuesday at 7.